All right, everyone, now it's time for the big news of the day, which is that the Mueller probe is basically dead. Can we just bury it already? And fucking Mueller needs to end his probe because it's obviously not going to go any further. I'm going to say this again, and Lisa Page is alluding to this. What is being alluded to here, and Lisa Page is left-leaning. She's not like far-right or a Trump fan or anything. She just wanted to give open testimony because her apparent former boy toy, Peter Strzok there, or Sturzok, or whatever the fuck his name is, I don't give a fuck. The one with the smug face that was making psychopathic references in front of Congress, made himself look like a total moron in front of the whole nation. Lisa Page was the other party doing the partisan texting with him over the email investigation. Apparently, what we're hearing now, which corroborates what was already said like about a year ago, but it was, it was more speculative. Now, basically, the Mueller probe began without any actual tangible evidence to back the fact that there should be a probe. This is exactly what I've said. This is what I've speculated now for over a year happened. I think that information was fed by British intel, Steele dossier and more, to the CIA. That info was illegitimately then, without being properly vetted, fed to the FBI because of the partisan nature of certain channels that were involved, like Lisa Page, like Sturzok, all these others, Rosenstein, obviously, because they are partisan individuals that fucking hated Trump. The information never got properly vetted. At each stage, they assumed it had already been vetted, which goes to show a deep problem within the intel community's processes. It then went before the FISA court. The FISA court is a rubber stamping process. This is not partisan. It's basically, hey, the government wants to get a warrant and investigate this. Okay, approved. That's all that happens. They've denied so few applications for FISA warrants throughout time that only one of two things can be true. Either our intel agencies are really, really damn fucking good, and they just always get their way in applying for the warrant because they've always got really, really good probable cause, or it's a rubber stamping process, and it's basically, hey, we're just here to make sure that we can circumvent the Fourth Amendment. We're just here to make sure that the right to privacy that citizens enjoy and the concept that they should have a warrant to investigate is basically non-existent, as opposed to a honest-to-goodness constitutional public court where the person can challenge the ongoing proceedings and provide counter evidence, and where the judge will probably not grant a warrant if you don't have decent probable cause. I lean towards the latter. Then it went before Rosenstein, and apparently, according to him, in his own sworn testimony, he said, oh, I don't remember if I read it or not. I might have just signed off on it without realizing what I signed off on. Don't you think that the deputy AG should read things before signing them? I think so. But then again, I'm just a Luddite, apparently. I'm an extremist because I think that the Attorney General's deputy should read things before they get signed. The Mueller probe, therefore, I speculate, was highly partisan, number one, and never based on proper evidence, number two. That is, that the evidence that they had bundled to gain the FISA warrant was concocted or didn't make any sense and was not pertinent to a proper investigation of the Trump campaign. As such, Mueller begins his probe. I think that Mueller did not at first know how bungled that process had been. I honestly believe that. I don't believe that Mueller himself was aware of the systemic number of errors that were involved in starting the probe from the get-go. And I mean, he can't deny, a request to start his probe anyway. He's responsible for doing that. He's told, hey, here's an investigation for you. What's he supposed to do? Say, well, I need to see every step of the way how proper it was before I actually utilize this warrant? That's not how the investigative process works. I think, therefore, Mueller, Rosenstein exonerates himself by claiming that he never even read it before signing it, which was, when he said that, it was such an obvious tell that the whole probe had been falling apart. Rosenstein knows everything that's going on within the probe. If it was going to go well, if they were going to uncover, evidence of significant corruption, hey, Trump talked to Putin this time, this is what they talked about, they rigged the election, Russia did interfere, here are some people that were involved. If he thought that was the case, he would have gladly taken credit whether he had read it or not. He would have said, yeah, I read the letter, I was glad to sign it, it was some severe shit. He would have gladly, in front of the American people in Congress, taken full credit. In fact, he probably would have elaborated on this, said, yeah, by the way, I thought it was a wonderful idea to probe this. It was so spectacular in its corruption. Yeah, I was the central guy involved with getting, I was the big kahuna here. I was the one that signed off. He would have done that. But he didn't, did he? He pretends that he didn't read it first. Yeah, bullshit. And if he didn't, he should have been fired on the spot. Yeah, we decided that we were going to investigate an active presidential campaign. Deputy AG didn't even read the FISA warrant before he signed it. Wonderful process there. Therefore, at this point, the Mueller probe is literally nothing more than a witch hunt after anything that they can gain within their already overburdensome scope in order to retroactively justify the existence of a probe that was not initially based on any evidence of wrongdoing at all. That's exactly what's not supposed to happen within the investigative community. That's exactly what's not supposed to happen is, hey, I think this person is guilty of shit. So I'm going to start an investigation in hopes of finding dirt on them to retroactively have probable cause. No, you're supposed to have probable cause beforehand. Apparently that didn't happen. Lisa Page is openly alluding to it. She was considered to be very helpful by Congress. They're not questioning the veracity of these claims. She's considered a star witness at this point within the probe. Yeah, I would say this is pretty damning. So in other words, one of the agents involved with the inside scoop on this is saying, yeah, there was no evidence beforehand. No, we just started a probe. Yeah, that's pretty worrisome. I think people aren't quite getting this. For any liberals out there, the 10 of you that break free of their echo chamber long enough to see this, don't you think that it's interesting that the establishment is capable of investigating its potential political adversaries? That is that at the time Obama-run investigative community is able to investigate a Republican presidential contender based on no actual initial evidence to start a probe. So in other words, you'd be okay with the fact that the FBI could investigate you just on a whim. They're like, oh, we don't like this person. We think they're guilty of something. We're going to go digging through their history to find something to slap them with. It's like when people... they say, well, the Trump crime syndicate, look at all these people who have, been charged with crimes after this investigation. Dude, investigate any high-level politician. Not just like Trump as president, but, a high-ranking senator or something. Investigate them with an investigation whose scope involves anyone they ever associated with. You will find, if the investigation is thorough, dozens of people who have laundered money. They've had people killed. They've done foreign business they weren't supposed to do. They've certainly defrauded the American taxpayer on more occasions than you'd like to count. They've cheated on their taxes. They jaywalk. They run red lights and stuff. They do this all the time. Try finding any individual with a large number of political and business associates who isn't associated with some scumbags. This is a business world. He's a Manhattan billionaire. Who do you think that he spends his day with? He spends his day with crooks. It's just that they're off-the-book crooks. On the books, they look squeaky clean. Like John Gotti. Yeah, that was invoked with the Mueller probe. It was very funny because of their connections to the Clinton family. Remember when they had that, what was it, Growing Up Gotti or something like that? In the way, I think John Gotti had just gone to jail, and they're like, oh, follow his mafia family around. This generic sort of Italian family. It was such a mockery. Hard-hitting TV. It's like, what are you talking about? No, the Mueller probe is basically dead. This just further corroborates what I've speculated for some time, which is that the Mueller probe at this point is basically the Manafort Papadopoulos. Yeah, Papadopoulos gets 14 days in jail. Big time criminal, dude. He lied once to the FBI, and his legal team says, oh, Trump was gazing down at him on the wall because his portrait is there. Of course he lied. Okay, whatever. And he got off basically scot-free. I think he's already out of jail. So who cares? Yeah, big time criminal there. He lied during the questioning process. Hardened crook. We should take his voting rights away. What a felon. Now, come on. And then Manafort the charges there relate to his time with the Podesta group back in the early 2010s. They're talking about how he might have gotten Ben Shapiro to write Israeli propaganda against the Clintons on behalf of against Timoshenko at that point. It was fucking hilarious. The can of worms is really deep, and I think there's some maggots in there as well at this point. It's a very, very deep rabbit hole. It's a very, very odd situation, but it doesn't involve Trump. But Mueller's glad that he was able to nail this hardened criminal, Paul Manafort, who, laundered tens of millions of dollars for some Ukrainians once 10 years ago. He's very, very happy that he managed to uncover this plot, which I'm sure when Manafort comes forth and says, well, I'm going to cooperate fully, don't worry, just have mercy on me, I'll throw other people under the bus. This witch hunt then progresses to an attack on the Podestas, potentially. And Greg Craig has been named as well within, I believe, the statement that Manafort himself released there, his legal team. I believe that it explicitly mentions Greg Craig, an Obama associate, a Democrat, a liberal, not a Trump associate, not a Republican donor, a Democrat, someone as well involved with Clinton's, I believe, at several points throughout time. Be interesting to see who ends up going to jail. Could it be that the Podestas are the October surprise and for all the wrong reasons for the Democrats? I think that has a higher likelihood. You're never going to see Trump indicted. Anyone at this point who thinks that Trump himself is even a focus anymore of this investigation is deluding themselves. Some people are like, well, the deep state's trying to kill off Trump. No, the deep state has bullshit on Trump. They would have released it by now. Manafort, all of these charges stem from one of two things. Every charge so far is either before the Trump campaign and unconnected with it, like Flynn with the Turks, that was years before. We're not talking about 2017, Michael Flynn goes over to Turkey to talk to Erdogan the wrong way. It's either dated before Trump was even involved with these people in any political process, and it certainly doesn't involve Russia, or it's contemporary, but it involves, like Manafort, witness tampering, or Papadopoulos lying during questioning. So it's like these minor things that nobody gives a shit about. And they all stem from the initial charges, which, again, are dated. They have nothing to do with Russia, and they have nothing to do with Trump. The biggest connection that the Mueller probe so far has found between any political entity in the U.S. and Russia is some Facebook ads that were made by some Russian nationals with supposedly Kremlin money. That and the fact that Manafort worked for a pro-Russian group, not Russia itself, but a pro-Russian group, using Israeli propaganda and apparently Breitbart and Ben Shapiro at the time, which is hilarious, on behalf of people who were against Timoshenko. Again, long before the Trump campaign. It has nothing to do with the last election. How many fewer times are they mentioning Russia lately, by the way? It's because they no longer have faith in the Mueller probe. Let it die. But I know what'll happen. They will definitely wait until after the midterms. Mueller is not going to come out tomorrow and say, okay, yeah, the probe's ended. We did our job. Thorough investigation. We found these criminals. Manafort, he laundered money 10 years ago. Papadopoulos lied to the FBI. Michael Flynn, who we suspiciously haven't even brought before a court yet, and I think is still technically free on bail or whatever at the moment. Yeah, he did some diplomatic work for Turkey that he wasn't supposed to do. He didn't register as a foreign agent. Wonderful. Where's the Russian collusion? Oh, yeah, we didn't find any. Yeah, he's really going to come out before the midterms and exonerate Donald Trump and everyone else ever associated with him when Donald Trump constantly insults him. At this point, by the way, I don't really blame Mueller for waiting until after the midterms in hopes that the Republicans get screwed. Because I think what Mueller's hoping is the Republicans will lose the House and Senate so he doesn't immediately get fired the day after the probe ends by Donald Trump, because then he won't dare to do that. I think that's what Mueller's waiting for. It's a career move for him. By the way, I wish him well in it. It looks like Mueller may have gotten the fuzzy end of the lollipop, and really Rosenstein stabbed him in the back. It looks like Rosenstein's like, I washed my hands of it. I don't remember signing it off at all. And then Mueller gets stuck with it because he's the public face of the probe. And so all of the other scumbags that helped start it, like, Steele and all these others, all I did was compile a dossier. I promise it was real. Oh, all I did was sign the FISA warrant. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't even read it. Oh, all I did was send some obviously politically tainted text back and forth with my boy toy there. By the way, there was no evidence to start the probe from the get-go. Exactly what I've been saying the whole time. Now Lisa Page is corroborating it. I think I'm going to trust that and take it to the bank. That's about all. Peace out.